All right, guys, looks like we are live doing again, like I said, a very informal live stream tonight because I'm in London. I've been unbelievably sick. Like, I still have not gotten over the sickness where I had no voice. Now all my kids are sick, but I have just been inundated this week, obviously, for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, our USS Liberty episode dropped, which was super exciting for a lot of reasons. We worked on that for weeks. As you can see, we put together this like editorial package, and I'm going to talk about that and let you know what went on behind the scenes. But for it to become a global trend and to start a much needed conversation makes me so proud. Also, at the exact same time, obviously, Brett Cooper has announced her exit from the Daily Wire after a lot of innuendos. We're going to discuss that. And also, I had a conversation with Lily Phillips, who is that British girl who is trying to beat the world record, Guinness Book of World Record for sleeping with the most men in one day. And she is going for 1,000 men. So we'll jump right into it, obviously, because like I said, this is informal. So there's not going to be any transitions. I have nothing to show you here. Let's start with the Brett Cooper exit. Obviously, you guys have been inundating me. Oh my gosh, Candace, what's going on? What's your take? Listen, just from the very beginning, obviously, everyone kind of knows the backstory. Last couple of weeks, there's just been some rumors floating around. Some people thought the rumors were ridiculous that she was leaving. Other people were saying that there was a lot of friction that was happening in the background at the Daily Wire. What we know for a fact is that Brett Cooper did, in fact, announce her exit from the Daily Wire on Tuesday. While I was on a plane over to London, I had no Wi-Fi, so I landed and it was just an explosion of text messages. And, I think because the exit came after there were so many rumors floating, people then assumed that all of the rumors were true. There were rumors that her best friend or former, or not former, her maid of honor in her wedding, which is true, obviously, Reagan Conrad would be taking over her show. And people were trying to deduce whether or not that meant that there was a lot of drama in the background. The Spectator did a summary. They're obviously quite respected. And they went through and clawed through all of the internet innuendo and noticed some things. Obviously, one big thing that has been noticed on the internet is that Brett seems to have deleted all of the photos that she had of her and her maid of honor from her profile. So that obviously signals to people that maybe some of that innuendo was true. And then the other aspect, which I was not even aware of until I read this article on The Spectator, was that apparently there was some movement. This is such a Gen Z thing, but I guess they were commenting on all of Brett's posts or something and telling her to wear blue on her last day if she's not allowed to talk about what happened. And then she wore blue. So who knows if she wore blue because it's a normal color to wear and I wear blue probably twice a week, or if she was trying to signal something. Anyways, the long conclusion of this is as far as separations go, it appears to be as amicable as it can be. She made the announcement. It was quite sad. She did seem like she was upset in it. And then it kind of cut to Jeremy Boring, the CEO. He said nice things about her. And unless she wants to contribute something else or he wants to contribute something else, I don't think there's any reason to look further into it because everybody is moving on in their lives. And that gets into the next point. Everyone's like, what will happen to Brett Cooper? Brett Cooper is going to be absolutely fine. I mean, beyond fine. Frankly, by the time I hit the ground, I must have had, and I am not kidding, 25 messages from people from all walks of my life asking me, can I have a contact with Brett Cooper? I'm talking about people that want to do her book, people that want to sign her for a show, people that want her to sign her for speeches. And I think she should have been doing all of that stuff in the last couple of years, like striking while the iron is hot. And she hasn't really been doing much. She's obviously, it's a 5-day-a-week show for Daily Wire. So I'm sure that's because she was really consumed and dedicated to that. And there hasn't really been an answer on the Snow White project, but it looks like maybe that's not happening. So she now has a considerable amount of time to do what I think young people that are getting into the space should do, which is what I did. I obviously was with Turning Point USA. I had a very loose contract, so I did everything. I mean, from speeches to Fox News hits to my book, just trying to, while I had all the energy before I was married and had kids, just trying to really strike while the iron was hot. And I learned so much in those years. And so Brett is so young. She's 22 years old. She's now going to be able to do everything. And like I said, it was trending here in London that she left the Daily Wire. So for someone that young to have gained 4.5 million subscribers on YouTube in a couple of years and to become a global trend when she leaves her job, kudos to you, Brett Cooper. That's absolutely amazing. And I can just tell you from working with her, She's fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic. She's brilliant. I think Matt Walsh issued a statement about how much he adored working with her. Always had a great experience working with her. Obviously, Michael, we all were in the office every day. And no one is concerned that like Brett Cooper is not going to be okay. She's going to have to sit down and decide what it is she wants to do. The hardest part for her is going to be how to focus. I mean, creative directors working out for me. We can do this for her. We can do this, blah, blah, blah. We'll run her ads, advertisers reaching out to me. So if Brett Cooper is suffering, it is probably right now from too many options. To be honest, I haven't even had time because I've been sick with my kids to send her all of the messages that I've been getting. And so I also wanted to include for you guys, it's in the link here. If you look in the comment section, we're going to pin it, her new YouTube channel. Obviously, she's going to have to rebuild her YouTube channel. The assets belong to the Daily Wire. Similarly, when I left, that's not really exactly scandalous. That is what they're investing in, which is essentially, we're putting money behind you. We're going to grow your channel, and, we're going to keep your channel when you leave. So she's starting from scratch. Not a big deal at all. I was starting from scratch, got my channel up. I think we're at like 3.3 million subscribers, and we did it in under 5 months. So anyway, support independent creators. Again, use the link that is below. But the broader conversation that's going to be really interesting, and I think this is, again, it's broader, so it's not even specifically about Daily Wire, but people are kind of debating, if this is what the Daily Wire is doing, and it looks like it perhaps is. And if I'm speaking wrongly here, we're going to find out shortly, obviously. But if we are having this former or this maid of honor take over her show, is that going to work? And that is really interesting because, podcasting is a unique space. It is very personal. It's a new medium. When podcasting exploded, I think largely we can attribute that to Joe Rogan. Obviously, Daily Wire was one of the first companies to sort of try to carve out the space of podcasting and say we're gonna house a bunch of podcasters. I would say the Daily Wire and the Blaze kind of hit the ground running, and I think that nobody has really stopped to consider, can you just do that like late night TV? Can you do that like The View, where you can just keep swapping hosts and go, okay, well, now it's going to be the comment section with someone else? Is the audience going to like that? Or is the audience going to reject that? Now, if I'm just guessing, if this is my company and I'm running it, I'm going, no, I think podcasting is too personal. I think people sign up for a YouTube channel because they're signing up for that person. It remains to be seen. Obviously, they haven't done this yet. This will be an experiment for them. But I do think it starts a conversation about what it says about both Brett and the Daily Wire if they do it. Like, I think if I'm instructing what I would do, I would just create an entirely new show if you're going to bring in new talent. Otherwise, it kind of feels like, okay, well, is this just all scripted? Is that the real Brett Cooper? Did she just train to do this show and that's not actually her personality? I'm asking these questions. I know the answer to this. Obviously, it is her personality. That is very much Brett's personality behind the scenes. It's how she talks. She's very bubbly and very excited. So I don't know if that's like the message that you want to send, that we can just like train someone else like a monkey to do the exact same thing rather than just create a whole new show around somebody else. Again, these are lingering questions. Do we treat it like a late night TV host that we're swapping, or do we consider this like, a recording artist? Like, you can't just be like, hey, Taylor Swift, we wrote all your songs. Now we're just going to swap you for like a Taylor Swift lookalike and like see if she can just do the exact same thing. I think it's personality driven. But again, these are the questions that a lot of people are asking. And I will say this, we've had finally a turn of events where people stopped attacking me, the media I'm speaking about, obviously, for months. And they've been genuinely curious about the success of our new show. And there was a particular article that Slate wrote that I found to be quite interesting. It was like, I think Slate did an article on us, LA Times did an article on us, the Washington Post did an article on us, trying to figure out like what the secret ingredient is. And Slate had suggested that in the Joe Rogan podcast economy, as they were describing it, authenticity is what sells. And I very much agree with that. I think you have to be yourself. Like, even if I was subbing in for a Brett Cooper or a Matt Walsh, it would be very strange if I was on Matt Walsh's show and I was just talking like this and doing the Matt Walsh voice. I would just be Candace, because this is like my personality, and it would work because people are like, that's Candace, and that's who I have come to trust. But again, all of that is up for debate. We'll see what happens. Like I said, as amicable as a split, even though internet sleuths have noticed some things, I think it was handled professionally. I think both of them said nice things about each other. And everyone, like I said, just look out for Brett Cooper, because this is going to be, I think she's going to explode in 2025, because she is a tremendous, multifaceted talent. The last thing I do want to say, 'cause this was the one thing that I do know the answer to, and it was kind of driving me crazy. Brett Cooper is not pregnant. There are all these people that were like, oh, I think she just like is pregnant and wants to start a family. And like, there's a couple of reasons. I think that rumor reflects poorly on both sides. It suggests that the Daily Wire gets rid of you if you're pregnant, and that is not the case. Obviously, I had 3 kids at the Daily Wire, so if Brett Cooper wanted to get pregnant and have a family, she would be very much allowed to stay at the Daily Wire. And yeah, I just think that was like poor messaging. Also, she's super young. She's got just a lot of gas left into the tank. So no, she's not pregnant and like doing this because she wants to go farm. She's going to be everywhere in 2025. So we just want to wish her a lot of luck. All right, I'm going to read a quick ad because I do want to also now speak about the USS Liberty, because people, like I said, so much innuendo. We're trying to attach my personal message to what was happening with Brett. We pre-shot that episode so long ago. It was always slated to go out on the day that it went out. So anyways, first, I do want to throw it to one of our sponsors, and that is going to be, first up, preborn, of course, because we know that every baby's life is a precious gift full of potential and dreams waiting to unfold. That's why Preborn, the nation's largest pro-life organization, is on the front lines for at-risk babies and mothers that are facing unplanned pregnancies. Preborn's network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion rate areas in the country. They are equipping these clinics with the resources that they need to save these precious babies' lives and provide compassionate support to mothers for up to 2 years after birth at absolutely no cost. As abortion continues to rise, Preborn is expanding their life-affirming care to help more hurting women and to save more babies. And if you have the means, please consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way. Your tax-deductible donation of $15,000 will place an ultrasound machine in a women's center, saving countless lives for years to come. And now, through a match program, your gift will be doubled. Donate, you just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, so backstory to Liberty, the USS Liberty episode. A lot of people were asking, why did I name it a personal message? Well, it is simply a fact that you cannot discuss certain topics on YouTube, on TikTok, without them being severely suppressed. And the USS Liberty is one of these topics. So the backstory of this is I had never known the USS Liberty story, and you can see that I am not the only one, given the global reaction that people had to learning the story about this. I learned about it a few months ago, came across Phil Turney and his letter, and really fell apart. I mean, just the concept of our military men being treated like that was really devastating to me. But then I couldn't get in contact with him. I was like emailing the USS Liberty website for months. We were emailing them, just trying to get in touch, just trying to get any survivor to come on, and we weren't hearing a response. So I then hit up Jocko Willink, because someone had pointed out to me that Jocko Willink had the USS Liberty survivors on his podcast. And I really just want to shout him out for that, because even though my episode became a globe and trending topic, there were people that had pioneered that and had really done the brave thing and had been speaking to these people before me. And Jocko Willink was that individual. And I had Jocko Willink on my podcast when I was at Prager University. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey, do you have a contact for any of these guys? And he gave me multiple contacts, spoke to Phil Turney that day on the phone. When we recorded him, all I can tell you is like, you could just feel the Holy Spirit moving in that room. It was really hard for my team to keep it together. And I've got 3 guys on my team, and I think all of them wanted to cry, particularly when he tells the portion of the story where after or during the attacks, and they're actually after the attacks, when they're trying to rescue as many lives as possible. And you just envision he's 20 years old. He's 20 years old, and he has someone looking up at him asking him, am I going to die? And he looks at him and says, yeah, you're going to die. Truly just a remarkable, remarkable story. And it completely gave me chills. I knew he and I had a discussion thereafter about the fact that we just knew that Christ was with us in that room. I knew the episode was going to be big, and I wanted to do whatever I could in my power to make sure that it wasn't limited. In the same way that TikTok has limited it. If you go on my TikTok right now, every video has like millions of views, 100,000 of views. The USS Liberty clips, 30,000 views. They suppress this information, and the Israeli government took credit for that. They said, we got TikTok under control. We have Instagram and Facebook under control. we are looking now to get X under control. And so that's one of the reasons that you can't hear these stories and they can't share them. So I said on that day, let's not name it USS Liberty. Let's name it something that will completely throw off their algorithms. And I thought a personal message was a good idea. And clearly I was right. It threw off their algorithms. It had gone viral. And this was partly aided bizarrely by the fact that some people thought that I was going to be announcing that Brett Cooper and I were working together. I'd love to work with her, but that was clearly not the announcement. And so we slated it for December 11th, and God did the rest, really. And I can tell you that Phil Turney has told me they are receiving so many donations right now. When my husband and I went through their charity and saw that these men weren't giving any money monthly, you can go because obviously all that stuff is public. I mean, they were raising no money annually. No one would tell their stories. Everybody is afraid of the Zionist lobby. And it just broke my heart. I was like, these men deserve to be treated like kings. And he's at the tail end of his life. He's about to be 80 years old. And all he has done is dedicated his life to trying to be recognized for being a hero. It just broke me. And I feel very blessed and certain that God gave me the platform to be able to do these sorts of things. And the spot that I have in my heart for our veterans who risk their lives every day, to hear him speak about how they didn't know where they were going. They just knew they were going to defend their friend and their ally, only to be attacked by them, obviously leading to a much broader conversation. We have, as someone in the chat just pointed out, 3 million views right now and climbing in a period of 48 hours. Does it put a target on my back? Sure. But I would say, upon reflection, that Phil Turney gave me the perspective that I needed, because it's very easy to feel woe is me when I felt like I was dealing with the Zionist attack, not a literal one, a media attack trying to destroy my character, trying to destroy my career, because I wasn't siding with the actions of a foreign government. And they tried to pretend that it was anti-Semitism when I'm just telling the truth about what I'm seeing. And to hear what he lived through, to hear having to pull up your shipmates, then being threatened by your own government. They left you out to die for 17 hours, just hoping that your ship would sink overnight. What I lived through is absolutely nothing. And I'm just so grateful to Phil Turney for providing me with that perspective. I already gave, as you saw me pledge in the episode, $40,000. I'm going to do that every single year. And I'm hoping to do more. I was saying to my husband, I want this to be my charity of choice. I think that we should sell those amazing USS Liberty hats and give a portion of the proceeds, after we obviously have to deal with like shipping and all that stuff, giving a portion of the proceeds every year to the remaining survivors. And so I'm just very grateful to all of you. And we have been inundated, obviously, with so many emails from people saying, I never knew, I never knew. There's so much of that, particularly when it comes to the topic of Israel. And the second you start to know, the second you begin to ask questions about things, their entire media empire, I call it like the Likud party empire, just comes down and crushes you and calls you, as he said, we've been called Jew haters, we've been called anti-Semite, and we have been called Nazis. And our only crime is that we survived that day. You unimaginable, unfathomable. So I do want to remind you guys, if you haven't taken the time out, please go visit the USS Liberty Vets .org website, give $1, whatever it is. I want these men to live like kings for the rest of their lives. And hopefully people with even bigger platforms than me will pick up the story. I will always host them on the anniversary of that attack and make sure that we just keep that in our mind. And by the way, for those of you, a lot of you had asked in the comments, like, why did they do this? Because they wanted us to go to war with Egypt. And, people often make the argument that Israel is the size of New Jersey. Yeah, that's the whole point. They need bodies. They need people that are going to go fight their wars. And there's no question that this false flag, and for people that don't think it was a false flag, that's not the only one that Israel did around that time, trying to drag us into war with Egypt. You should look up the Lavon affair. I will spell that for you, Lavon affair. That is another one that is swept under the rug, in which they tried to kill Americans to drag us into a war with Egypt. It's happened so many times, and no one is allowed to speak about it because we are just told that these are our friends, these are our allies. And, with friends and allies like this, who needs enemies? So I'm just happy that we were able to foster that conversation. And also, we broke through this wall with so many Jewish Americans emailing us and saying, Candace, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't, this story has completely ripped me apart. And I just said back to them, yeah, this is what I've been trying to say. Like, the government is up to no good. And the fact that we're not even covering in the Western media the corruption trial of Bibi Netanyahu that is going on right now as it pertains to October 7th, the amount of times that they have been accused of executing these false flag attacks and then blaming it on Arabs in the past, a part of record and history that you guys don't even know about, really tells you that our media is completely occupied. And that's in large part due, in my opinion, to AIPAC spending. They spent $100 million in our last election cycle. That's completely crazy. And it was something that JFK Jr. was trying to stop in the weeks leading up to his death. He was demanding that they register as foreign agents, and they never did. They ignored his orders, which came from the State Department, and then he was unalived, and that kind of went away. He was also adamantly opposed to them becoming armed with nuclear arms, because Dwight D. Eisenhower warned him on the way up that they were trying to go nuclear. Most Americans don't know this. And then LBJ becomes president. His aunt, I think her name is like Jesse James something, was a member of the Zionist Congress, and suddenly he undoes everything that JFK was fighting against, or rather does everything that JFK was fighting against. So we just need to be able to have these truthful conversations without these petty smears of anti-Semitism. Like, being a Jewish American does not make you responsible for the crimes of a foreign state. And when they're allowed to murder U.S. servicemen and not even have to say sorry, it doesn't, like, for me, pass the sniff test. So we're doing a lot more work, kind of waking people up to everything that really happened through the 50s and the 60s and the 70s that has since been covered up. I'm just very happy, again, blessed that this interview has done so well. And I know that that is in large part due to just Christ and the feeling that the Holy Spirit was just really with me and Phil Turney on the day that we recorded that interview. Okay, going to jump into another pro-life ad here, reminding you guys about 7 Weeks Coffee. Today's show is also sponsored by 7 Weeks Coffee. Why are they called 7 weeks? Because at 7 weeks, a baby is the size of a coffee bean. It's the same time that a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. That is why they donate 10% of every sale to support pregnancy care centers across the country. They have raised over $500,000 for these centers, and they have saved, therefore, over 5,000 lives. I can tell you about the coffee really quickly because I'm very picky about what I put in my body. It's mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low acid, and is organically farmed. So it truly checks all of the boxes. Just in time for the holiday season, 7 Weeks Coffee is having their biggest promotion of the year. You can enjoy exclusive discounts, free gifts with every order, and new limited edition coffees. Whether you're looking for stocking stuffers or the perfect roast, 7 Weeks Coffee has you covered this Christmas season. Exclusively for my listeners, you can go to 7weekscoffee.com and use code Candace for up to 25% off your order. Remember that your order will directly help support a network of over 900 pro-life organizations across the United States. Okay, got to tell you about my conversation. So this girl has been trending. I am sure you've heard about her, but in case you haven't, I'll give you a brief update. Her name is Lily Phillips, and she is extremely young. Skylar, how young is she? She's got to be like 23 years old. She's 23 years old. And obviously, the OnlyFans market is somewhat saturated now. And so if you're really going to break through as an OnlyFans model, you're going to have to do something really ridiculous. And she has decided that she is going to sleep with 1,000 men in 24 hours to break the Guinness Book of World Record, which was previously held by some Polish girl who slept with approximately 917 men in one day. Obviously, this is utterly demonic, and people have been outraged also to learn that her mother is working with her. Like, her mother handles the finance portion of her OnlyFans account. And so just spiritually to think about, and she's presenting herself to the public. She did an interview with the Daily Mail, and she's like, I come from a stable household. My mother loves me, like my father loves me. And she's trying to pretend like I'm just a regular girl who wants to break a Guinness Book of World Record. So I got contacted by Steiny, of the Nelk Boys podcast. And he said, listen, like, I'm about to have this girl on my show. Would you want to have a conversation with her? And I said, yes. I said yes, not because I thought that I was going to change her mind, but because I knew that having a conservative and a spiritual conversation with her is important for the young girls that are following her, thinking that what she is doing is making her happy. So she did this test run before I spoke with her, just a couple of days before I spoke with her. And she slept with 100 men in 24 hours just to see if she could get to 100. You should go pursue the clip. Be careful, because a lot of clips circulating of her. You may accidentally land up on porn, which is what I did when I tried to find it on YouTube, on Twitter, rather. I can't believe X has so much pornography. But essentially, she comes out of the room. It's exactly what you imagine. And they start asking her questions like, how was it? How was it? Because she's filming a documentary to go along with this to maximize the money she makes. And she quite literally broke down crying. Like the mask slipped and she said, I'm sorry, I'm overwhelmed. It felt like robotic and I'm just overwhelmed. And yeah, because there's 100 men that are ushering in there and they were pressuring her, like, you promised I'd get 3 minutes, whatever it was. It was so heartbreaking to watch. Fast forward a couple of days, I'm talking to her and she's back to trying to make it seem like she doesn't care. And so I just called her out on that. Like, we were completely respectful. There was no reason for me to be derogatory towards her. I know that a lot of people feel very passionate, but I just basically said to her, this is a facade, and I'm aware that it's a facade because I had Amber Rose on my podcast and speaking to her about the sex industry, speaking to her about what it took for her to pretend to be confident. Because she said the reason why these OnlyFans models pretend that it doesn't bother them and that doesn't disrupt their spirit is because the men want to believe you're into it, right? So if you're trying to make money and you're trying to sell a package on OnlyFans and you're like, I'm into 1,000 guys going through me in one day, they don't want to see you crying. They don't want to see you distressed, and it kind of takes away from their fantasy. And I called her out on that. I said, I get that you're creating a fantasy. You're doing this, obviously, I'm not going to ask you patronizing questions. You're clearly doing this for money. If Ford models knocked on your door and said, I'd like to give you a $15 million contract for modeling, you wouldn't be doing this, plain and simple. She tried to then say, oh no, like I actually really like doing, like I like this. She's like, I was already sleeping with a ton of guys for free. This is my thing. So dishonest, again, because she has to sell this fantasy to the men that are signing up to her OnlyFans that she's into it. And because she had this moment where she broke after she slept with 100 guys, I just want to say, like, for the guys that are signing up, the 1,000 men that are signing up to sleep with her in 24 hours, like, I view you as sexual predators. Like, now you saw the breakdown, you saw the real her, the mask slipped. And if you are signing up to do that, it's because you're a pervert. There's really nothing else to say. She's a young girl and she just wants money, and you're willing to violate a woman and be one of 1,000 men to do it in one day for what? Because of pornography, because of sex addiction, because of all of the ills that we are suffering from, and because of the fact that prostitution is the oldest trade in the books. That is why she is participating in this. She even spoke to the fact that, like, her life was made better and she owed it to her fans. She's got a little bit of money. Somebody, I think, made an estimate online that she makes like $2 million a year. And I told her, $2 million a year, and you're going to reflect on this, how it's going to impact your children if you have them. Like, imagine going to school as a child and you have the mother who everyone knows slept with 1,000 men in one day. Just to, like, do the math on that. She's going to have to sleep with one man every 86 seconds for 24 hours straight. And that's going to have to, by the way, include bathroom breaks. So, like, I don't want to imagine how that works. She's not going to be able to eat. Maybe she is going to eat. I don't know. But it is really, truly a sign of just demonic possession. I told her, like, you are possessed by a devil. And it is telling you to put money ahead of your entire future. I get that you like the attention that you're getting for all of this, but it's just really sad to see what women have become in today's society. Lastly, Steiny asked me if I would ever go out and grab like a drink with her or, be a friend to her. And I said, no, my time is precious. She's not a person that's trying to change around her life. It's different if she's like, yeah, I live this lifestyle and I like really want to come out of it. There's no value in that exchange for me. It's just a mom of three. And I was very clear to her that her mother was abusive. I was very clear to her that her mother partaking in this, her mother clearly does not love her. And there was it is, as someone who has sons and has daughters, I actually do not have the vocabulary to express what sort of a parent you would have to be to support that. And she says that both her mother and her father support her. So anyways, definitely look out for that interview. I think you guys will find it to be very fascinating. And like I said, she was very sweet. For me, I don't see a reason. I just don't see a reason for her to be doing this or choosing this path outside of money. And that really is the only reason that she is doing it. Okay, now, just to give you a last ad, I want to throw it to our sponsors at American Financing, because I know there are so many people that are feeling stressed about giving your family a memorable holiday. You're not alone because the prices are higher than ever, and a lot of Americans are maxing out their credit cards. Now it's the perfect time to take control of your finances and pay off that debt. If you're a homeowner, American Financing can help you unlock the equity in your home and start saving. Their customers save $800 a month on average. So just imagine what that could mean for your family. Plus, if you act now, you could even delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you extra cash for the season. Wouldn't it be nice to start off the new year without that debt and those monthly minimum payments? It costs nothing to find out how much you could be saving. The holidays are going to be here before you know it. So call one of American Financing salary-based mortgage consultants today. Call now at 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, guys. Also wanted to speak about New Zealand. I've had a great week. Despite being sick, everything externally has been amazing. The last piece of this was news broke that New Zealand overturned my visa ban, and I haven't been able to respond to that either. So just to give you the backstory, a minister of immigration in Australia, before I had even applied, was lobbied by the Zionist Federation of Australia to deny my visa when they found out that I had a speaking tour. Now, to be clear, I did not even apply for my visa yet. And because he was lobbied and they made up things that I never said, one thing being that I said that Judaism was a pedophilic centric religion, which is absolute nonsense. I am a Christian. The Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, are the Torah. So it was just nonsense. It's made up stuff, made up quotes, made up articles. But he came out and outright said, like, I'm going to ban her before he even got my application. And so what happened with New Zealand, the people that were celebrating, like New Zealand banned her, that process was actually automatic. And it essentially, they share a system on the back end. So if somebody gets banned from Australia, they automatically get banned from New Zealand. So for example, the Novak Djokovic, remember he notoriously got banned and got declined a visa from Australia because of they were like COVID monsters and it was crazy. Because he refused to get the vaccine and put something in his body that he didn't feel comfortable with. Well, that would have meant that had he have applied for a visa at the same time in New Zealand, he automatically would have been denied. So what then happened was once that automatic denial took place, the New Zealand government clearly does not agree with the radicalism of the Australian government right now. They said we didn't even know that this happened, and their immigration minister, which I want to say his name is Chris Penk. I want to get that right, actually, if you just bear with me. I do want to just thank him. Minister, it's Chris Penk. Okay, perfect. Chris Penk basically said, we're reversing this ban. We believe in free speech. I also do want to shout out the New Zealand Free Speech Union, because before, as soon as they found out that it happened and it was announced, they had contacted us and were like, we are going to take up your case and take it through the court system. And so that's amazing. Like, thank you to the Free Speech Union of New Zealand for doing that. It ended up not even being necessary because, like I said, New Zealand's government is not inching close to totalitarianism as Australia's government seems to be. On the Australian front, I wanted to let you guys know we are taking our case to the High Court. I feel like we have a very strong case, especially given the fact that Tony Burke blew through every protocol, first and foremost, denying someone publicly before you even receive their application. The application process is supposed to be private, but even telling people that I had not applied for a visa and that he was waiting for my application so he could just simply deny it unilaterally all seems, well, I would just say pretty totalitarian. And I would just hope that the courts see that. I feel good about it. Obviously, we are going to respect this process of the High Court of Australia and keep you guys posted. But our dates for New Zealand and Australia have been postponed to next year, end of February. And I'm super excited. And I was really bummed, by the way, about the New Zealand banning because so many people told me that it is just such a beautiful country. And I've never had an excuse to make it out there. And I'm also a Lord of the Rings stan. I had to get out there. So I'm very pleased with this result. And I will obviously, like I said, keep all of you guys posted on that process. Okay. Last thing that I want to mention here in terms of things that are happening this week, which is just totally crazy. The FBI, obviously now on its way out, Chris Wray just says, okay, I'm resigning, I'm done. And now they're admitting that this conspiracy theory, which they held on to forever, accusing the right of being conspiracy theorists, they are now owning the fact that they had 26 FBI informants. So these were not members of the FBI. They were like civilian informants on the ground on the day of January 6th, something we have been saying forever. forever. Very clearly, we knew that there were people on the ground that were goading people to go into the Capitol building. There was so much footage and so much proof of that. And they essentially, when asked under oath, were like, we can't comment on the situation, whatever it is. Well, I guess these civilian informants, they are now admitting, because they realize that Trump is about to get in, they're going to examine all of these things. We're on the ground, and it is very likely, by very likely, I mean 100%, take it to the bank, that they use these people on the ground, people like Ray Epps, who was like, we should just storm the Capitol. We should just storm the Capitol. And then we're able to kind of lie publicly by saying, well, there was no FBI people on the ground. These were just civilian informants. Extremely messy. The level of gaslighting that they put us through, the fact that they put grandmas in prison for quite literally walking around the Capitol building. If you have not gone back and seen all the amazing work that Tucker Carlson did to expose what happened that day, please go and look into it. The FBI have been held on to all the footage and only showed snippets, very much in the form of what they did with the George Floyd thing, never showed the full arrest video because they wanted the public to be outraged and think that it was like this tremendous revolutionary uprising and making you think that police officers were battered and killed. All of these things with time wound up being debunked. And it looks like this was a full Fed operation. So just keep your eyes on that. Obviously, Trump has already indicated that he plans to vindicate all of these people, pardon every single January 6th prisoner. I think he should pardon them no matter what the offense was, because the truest offense is knowing that they were goaded by the FBI. And they're already trying to spin it like we're just like, no, these are civilian informants. So technically it's not the FBI. It's like, I don't know. It's really enraging. It is just enraging what the Democrats have done. And further to that point, like Biden, I'll get into that on Monday, but like the pardons that Biden is issuing, it's like he's issuing pardons for people that had child porn, like extensive child infant porn. He issued a pardon for one individual. We got to talk about that next week. It's absolutely wild given the context of Ashley Biden's diary, which the FBI swooped in and tried to say was Russian misinformation, then acknowledged that it was real. And she wrote diary entries about the fact that her father took showers with her, that she says sexualized her when she was young. I mean, it's all coming down in Democrat land right now. And like I said, we're going to pivot and speak about all those things at the beginning of next week. I just kind of wanted to jump on this live stream and just do a wrap up, because it's just been an amazing week. And I'm just so proud of this show. I'm proud of everything that we have accomplished. I'm thankful to all of you guys who have just been on this journey with us. Also should mention my episode with my husband yesterday just crossed 1 million views in less than 24 hours as well. It was really hard for me to book him because he's so English and he just does not like to speak and does not dabble on internet. He doesn't even have social media accounts. He's extremely private, but I thought it was very much time to introduce you guys to my better half. And I loved how much you guys loved and enjoyed that conversation. I guess it's going to be another 6 years that I can book him. Anyways, we are here in London for Christmas, and we'll have a full week of shows for you next week. They'll be really fun. Keep up the festive spirit. And thank you guys so much for just always investing in our content. Go support the USS Liberty vets. They are amazing. They deserve every bit of your support. And we're going to do so many more episodes like that are just heavy hitting to show you guys about all the things that the government is lying to you about, because they've been doing this for a very long time. All right, guys, I would read your comments, but the chat is moving pretty quickly. So I'm just going to shut it down now at 37 minutes, and we will see you guys on Monday.